In this video, you'll learn how PIN policy and PIN use policy is configured in 2FA1. Best practices configure these policy on 2FA1 server and then synchronize the policy down to the 2FA1 clients in your environment. In this example, and for ease of use, I'm going to show you how to configure these policies in the local 2FA1 client. First, click on System Settings and then PIN Policy. You'll see that there's a PIN policy that's very similar to an Active Directory password policy. I can block a user's PIN after a certain amount of attempts. In this case, we have 3. I can keep a PIN history. Default is 3. Some policy requires PIN history to be as many as 10. Go ahead and set that one to 10. I can have a PIN length. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and set it to 8. You can have a maximum PIN length if you don't want users to create too long of a PIN. You can set that one to 10. I can have a PIN expiry policy. In this case, it'll require the user to change their PIN during the logon process after a certain amount of days have elapsed. Let's say in this case, I want 60 days. I can say that the PIN policy must meet a certain complexity. It can be no more than 3 repeated characters. It can be no more than 3 consecutive characters. It must contain alphanumeric characters. It must contain must only contain numeric characters, or must contain a special character. Clicking special characters are ideal for when you have a policy that requires that the password itself not be a word that can be found in a dictionary or could be subject to a dictionary type of attack. So including special characters is always best practice when creating a PIN policy. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Next, we have PIN use policy. Within 2FA1, when the user enrolls, they must always select a PIN. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they always have to use the PIN. They could have it so they never have to use the PIN, or they could have it that they do not have to enter the PIN when they unlock the system. Best practice is always to use the PIN, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and say do not require PIN on unlock. I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. Now next, although I've already enrolled with this user, I'm going to go ahead and re-enroll this user with a new policy. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my Active Directory or Windows password. I'm going to present my card to the reader. Now I have to select a PIN that's compliant with the policy that I just created. First, I'm going to show you what happens if the user does not follow that policy. In this case, I already have a card registered, so it's informing me that I have one. Now, it says to the user, it must be a minimum of 8 characters. Now, it's not going to show the user everything that they did wrong, so I'm going to go ahead and click Enter here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and create a password that's compliant with the policy that I set in the PIN policy. Again, it's going to inform me that I have a card registered and tell me that I've successfully registered my card. Next, I'm going to go ahead and log off. Now I'm going to attempt to log on using my new PIN. You'll see that I was required to present my card and enter my PIN during logon. I'm going to go ahead and click Lock in the workstation locks. Now, since I've set the policy that PIN is not required on unlock, when I present my card to the reader, it's not going to require me to enter my PIN.